Well, Constellation looks like it's another premium quality sci-fi experience from Apple TV Plus that might even help us become better listeners. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. The IMDb synopsis for Constellation, which I'm just covering episodes 1 through 3, reads, Jo returns to Earth after a disaster in space and discovers that there are missing pieces in her life. So she sets out to expose the truth about the hidden secrets of space travel and recover what she has lost. Okay, so what is this basic animal? It's a sci-fi mystery suspense drama. I think maybe some comparisons could be drawn to Interstellar. It's going for a very kind of grounded take on space travel, space exploration, but with one background sci-fi variable that is subtle at first, but then increasingly affects more and more of the story, and you realize that it's actually underpinning a lot of what's going on. The tension hangs on, at first, how Jo survives as an astronaut. We know she will survive because the episodes at first are bookended by sequences happening weeks after she returns home. But there's still tension in figuring out, okay, how does she get home? We know she will eventually, but man, it doesn't look good. Then the tension lies with her wondering if she is losing her mind and experiencing these disorienting symptoms of whatever sci-fi thing happened to her on her mission. Over the 3 episodes that I watched, the basic sci-fi concept becomes more clear, and it's a pretty well-known sci-fi concept, but it's a nuanced version of a popular trope. Part of the engagement for me has been about trying to figure out the particulars of what has happened, even when, I had a basic idea figured out of what the basic sci-fi concept was. So there's some suspense and anticipation involved in puzzling through the details of that, but for me, the tension really hangs on the personal effects that Jo experiences and the impact it's having on her career, her reputation, and her closest relationships. And with much mystery still to be revealed, it feels to me like things could get so much worse for Jo, that the ramifications of what happened could become so much bigger. And there's other characters as well who seem to know what this mystery is all about, but they're holding their cards close to their chest. So there's a lot more still to be revealed. So the show really has me very hooked, both conceptually and dramatically at this point. My only real hope is that this story will be done by the 8th episode. I feel like the pace it's going, its revelatory pace is about right for ending at 8 episodes. But I'm just afraid that if it's a multi-season show, it's gonna really drop off. It won't be as strong the second season. So I'm hoping what we get is a complete story that ends after the 8th episode, but we'll see. As far as the cast goes, Noomi Rapace is an actress I've long found very engaging to watch, going all the way back to Prometheus, which is the first movie I saw her in. She tends to play roles that are both vulnerable and very capable. Characters that have fragility, but also enduring toughness while they're being pushed to their limits. And the same is true of her character Jo in this show, especially on an emotional level with what she's enduring. Jonathan Banks, who you might recognize from Breaking Bad, from Better Call Saul, is also great, I think, as this veteran astronaut in charge of NASA's involvement in Jo's international mission, and someone who clearly knows more than most about what's really going on, and yet feels the need to keep it under wraps while pursuing more answers on his own. He's got this great kind of under-the-radar intensity that I think he's very well cast for, also really captivating for me to watch. As far as the stunts and just the overall visual production, the practical and digital effects, the sets, the props, and the digital stuff that they're recreating, all premium and really, I think, even theatrical quality, which itself is a spectrum. I'm not saying it's the best of all theatrical quality, but I mean, this is premium streaming television quality here. As well as the editing and the visual storytelling just has kind of an artistic vibe to it. It's very interested in telling stories by showing and not just having a bunch of people talk all the time and explaining everything. Zero G in this show is also pretty convincing to me. I mean, I'm not sure if maybe some of the shots were done in free fall like they did with the movie Apollo 13 or not. But I'm not seeing the telltale signs of people hanging in uncomfortable harnesses. It's got a nice look to the way they move in zero G, Apple is probably the most consistent, I think, quality over quantity streaming service. And my feelings so far is that Constellation is just another example of that. Okay, themes. Is there anything of moral, philosophical, or spiritual significance going on in the themes of Constellation that might trigger some worthwhile thought or conversation? Well, the tension plays on the common experience of feeling something no one around you understands, or believing something no one around you believes. In real life, there could be a variety of situations in which people have this type of emotional experience. Maybe becoming a Christian when no one around you is a Christian. Maybe realizing you're experiencing same-sex attraction. Maybe dwelling on dreadful thoughts like death that no one understands why you're fixated on, or thinking about the possibility of loss and dreading that in your mind when no one else seems to have those kinds of thoughts, or experiencing a dementia from a variety of medical conditions. These are just a few examples of how we can find ourselves feeling something that those around us just do not understand, or do not agree with, do not see reality the same way that we do. Now, some stories that kind of use this as a core dramatic device might really at the same time hammer home the idea that, hey, no matter what people around us think, we should trust our feelings. You know, the hero is right to trust their feelings. That is made clear to the audience. And so it can kind of feed that in us, this mentality of, no matter what people around me say, if I'm feeling and experiencing something, then I know it's the truth, and Constellation doesn't seem to be kind of like feeding into that. Instead, it just sits in the discomfort and isolation of having those kinds of experiences, whether or not what you're thinking, feeling, experiencing is legitimate or not. It's just tapping into that primal emotional core that I think many people can relate to in some way at some point in their lives for a variety of different reasons. At least that's how it seems to be treating things so far. I was reminded, though, that when I have had thoughts or feelings that no one around me understood, that were really kind of haunting me or preoccupying me, I was always grateful for those who would listen and recognize that I was having a real experience with real concerns. People who patiently let me share even when they couldn't relate at all to the thoughts or feelings that I was having, or maybe that even disagreed with my perspective at the root of those feelings. It was those all too rare kinds of people that also had a voice in my life as I was sorting through various things, because I knew they cared and they were open to really considering and thinking about with a fresh mind what I was sharing with them. So I'm reminded that as Christians, it's good for us to develop a reflex of listening and caring before our reflex to raise an eyebrow of skepticism and criticism. There is plenty of time for critical thinking, and of course that's very important, but if we want our voice to matter later on, we should be known for our love and our compassion right now. All right, well, no idea what your tastes are in TV shows, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, this is riveting. All 3 of the episodes you watched for the 3 hours you gave to this show so far, riveting. But wait. Wait so you can just binge them all in 1 month and not pay for more than 1 month of Apple TV Plus, because you are just that cheap. And hopefully it won't have a second season, we'll see. But this one is rated TVMA for language and violence. And those are all of my thoughts for now on Constellation episodes 1 through 3. As always, I would love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected. Thank you to the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining at patreon.com/spiritbladeproductions. Then, as always, I hope you'll check out our podcast and stay connected to all CGC content over at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth.
I'd like to